Have you ever watched the show South Park? The two creators, Trey and Matt, they created this thing of it's like a philosophy of writing. And here it is. So the first thing is this is happening. So this is happening is the first step of what I use to figure out what the scene is going to be about, what the comic strip is going to be about. This is happening establishes the scene, right? It's going to establish what's happening. But then what is happening, it needs to have a follow up. So the follow up will be therefore, therefore, this happens. And therefore, this happens is going to lead into the conflict. Because every story, whether it's a 3-panel comic, 2 or 1-panel comic, every comic has to tell a story. And this is happening. Therefore, this happens. And the conflict, the most interesting part of a comic strip or any story in general is the but. This is happening. Therefore, this happens. But this happens. So this is happening. The therefore, it only exists because this is happening. And after that, the but, you have to have a therefore before the but. That sounds crazy. But so this is it's like it's flowing. The story is coming to fruition. You can even see a story in your mind if you look at this. So this is happening, therefore this happens, but this happens. And then you already know to bring it back, therefore this happens. I would say this is like the cherry on top. This is the conclusion, and it creates a wonderful circle of everything's completed, everything is understood. And I know this sounds weird. It looks like it's in an abstract way. It's hard to see how this happens, but I'm gonna show you what I mean by the this is happening, therefore this happens, but this happens, therefore this happens. A method of writing. It's been helping me for the last 3 years. I don't know if you noticed, but if you read like my earlier comics for like the first year, it was a little hit and miss. But now, like every comic that I release, there is at least there is a good story. There's a good story, but there is just a conclusion. There is a joke. There is a but. There is a thing. So let's look at the 3 comics that I made to see this philosophy. So this is something I made like 3 years ago, and this is a comic strip. This is a arc where Mikey and his girlfriend turn into vampires, and King is trying to save, Karen. Look at the characters online. I'm going to put in the description below. You'll see who they are, but this is just going to illustrate the philosophy. So this is happening. What's happening in this scene? They're running away from these vampires. So this is happening. In the first panel, she's like, they've turned into monsters. What are we going to do? And then he says, this is happening. Therefore, he says, well, at least they don't have ranged attacks or anything. Then we'll really be in trouble. She says, way to stay positive, King. And then they start attacking with range attacks. So the therefore, I'm going to write it. The therefore. So happening. So this is happening. The therefore kind of follows through. It can actually stretch more than one panel. But basically, they are running from danger. They think it's safe, but it's going to get worse. And now here's the but. He says, okay, crap. All right, no more Mr. Nice Guy. I have an idea, but it could be dangerous. She says, great, going to do something heroic? That's right. Here's the but. But I'm going to erase all. I'm going to erase all this stuff, so don't worry. That's right. Instead of just running around in this direction, yeah? Therefore, I'm going to run this way instead. And she says, my hero. So we can see like the anatomy of the joke. There's this tension of conflict. They think they're safe, but there's range attacks happening. There's couches, there's a TV in the air. They're running for their lives. And he says, you know what? I've had enough. And she said, okay, the but is okay. Yeah. Okay. You're going to do what? I'm going to run this way instead. I'm going to run another way. So even though there's no real like conclusion in terms of the overarch story, we realize something about King. He's going to run. He's not going to be a fighter. He's going to run away. And that's the joke in this comic. I actually really like this one, but you can see like how you can break down a comic strip and try to get to the joke itself. So that one's way more complicated. There's actually a lot more obvious one here. So Mikey's go-karting. He's almost to the finish line. Nothing can stop him now. So this is happening. He's in a go-kart. Nothing can stop him now. Therefore, he's about to hit the finish line. But therefore, this is happening. Therefore, he gets hit. Out of my way, loser. Better luck next time. And then the but is Princess Peach. The therefore is I'm going to make it. The but is Princess Peach. And then therefore he's in a dream. So yeah, you can see how this method can really can bring a comic strip to life. And my last one I want to talk about, and that's this one. So this is in near the end of our arc that I did with King. Go ahead and show your secret weapon. He just defeated the villain. He wants to see what's up next to villain's sleeve. Nah, dude, I'm pretty much finished. I give up. What? Come on, villain. By the way, my voice acting sucks. What? Come on. Every villain has a plan B, if not at least a second form or something. What's the matter with you? And they're like, okay, so therefore, so this is happening. This is happening. Therefore, he's like, hey, what the hell, right? But this happens. He actually does have a dragon. He says, hold on, now that you mention it, I do have a secret weapon. Ancient green dragon, attack them. And then the conclusion, therefore. What the heck is wrong with you? Like, they're like, what the heck? You just won. You just brought forth the second stage of the boss. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I've always wanted to do a video about this, but this is how I write my comics. This is how I plan them out every week and on a consistent basis. So thank you so much for clicking on the video. I hope you've learned something from this, from the this is happening, therefore, but therefore method. Thank you so much for clicking on the video and have a great day.